Welcome back, engineers. Today we're going to be learning another feature tool, and what we're going to be doing with that is making this cool pyramid. It's actually called the Eye of Providence. So if you ever look on the back of a $1 bill, you'll see this all-seeing eye. If you ever watch National Treasure, you've probably seen this before. The actual name of it is called the Eye of Providence, and we are going to be creating a model of that using a Loft feature tool in OnShape today. So in the past, we've used the extrude tool, we've used the revolve tool, and now we're going to be moving on to the loft tool. Again, these are all feature tools, so they help us turn our 2D sketches into three-dimensional objects. So let's go ahead and get started by first creating a new document. Now remember the name on this document, sorry I messed this up in our last video, but it should be your class name underscore loft demo underscore your last name. Make sure you have the naming convention right, so when you share it with me, it ends up in the right spot. Alright, now, just like all of our other feature tools, in order to be able to use the Loft tool, what we have to do is we have to start with some sketches. So let's go ahead and start by creating a base for this. And actually, before I do this, let me pull up just some orthographic drawings of what we're going to be building. So you guys already know what the symbol looks like there. You've seen it on the back of a 1. I just showed you a picture of it. So in order to make this Eye of Providence, we need a base that's 100 by 100. And then you can see that the top of this kind of initial base of the pyramid is 10 by 10. And we can see that in the top sketch there. And then after we finish the bottom, then we'll have another little part, and that's just really just a 10 millimeter kind of pyramid on top there, and then we need 5 millimeters of gap in between. So this is what we're creating, and like I said, we need to start by creating this 100 by 100 base on our top plane. So let's go ahead and start there. So we'll do a new sketch on the top plane. We'll do a center point rectangle. We want to center it at the origin, and then we'll just go out. Doesn't matter where we're at here because we are going to use the dimension tool to dimension one of our sides to be 100. And then we can use the equals constraint to just set this side equal to this side up here. So now we know that these are both 100. So we have a 100 by 100 square at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label these. This is a best practice that you should always do when you're creating things, so that if you need to go back and edit them, you can clearly see what is what. So this is going to be the base, or the bottom of the base. So we have the base kind of pyramid, and then we have the top pyramid. So this right here is the bottom of our base. Okay. Now, instead of using like an extrude or doing some revolve, the next thing we have to do is actually create a second sketch. And the second sketch is going to be the top of the bottom base, okay? Because what the Loft tool does is it takes one sketch and it moves it to another sketch, dropping the 3D object all the way. So in order to get that second layer, we have to actually create a new plane. So what you'll do is you'll right click on this top plane and you're going to choose the offset plane option. So offset plane. And then if you move around, you can see that what's happening is that it's creating a plane, but it's just above where the original top plane was, okay? And then we can sketch on this plane, we can do anything from this plane, but right now it's just a surface. So we're going to need to set this to be the correct distance to go from the bottom of our base of the triangle to the kind of the top part of that base. And if we look back at the orthographic drawings, we can see that to go from the bottom to the top, we have 80 millimeters that we need to have in that gap. So we're going to go ahead and set this gap, this offset distance, to be 80 millimeters, and then go ahead and confirm that. Okay, so we are going to be actually doing a sketch on this plane 1, but I think it's easier to, before we actually do the sketch, to hide what we already have, because sometimes we can make mistakes and accidentally click on things that we don't mean to. So let's go ahead and just hide this bottom base, and let's hide the top plane just for right now. Again, we'll come back to that. We'll need those. But for right now, all we want to see is plane 1. And then we can create our new sketch on plane 1. And remember, what we're doing is this top part of the bottom triangle, which is 10 by 10. So we'll just need a 10 by 10 square, and we'll start in the center. We can do the same thing as what we did for the base. So just dimension one of the sides to be 10, and then use your equals constraint to set these equal to each other. So we have 10 and we have 10. Okay, so now we'll relabel this. This will be called the top, or the top of the base. So this is the top of our kind of base pyramid. And then we'll go ahead and show our top plane, and we can show our first sketch. And now we have everything we need to use the Loft tool. So it's pretty simple to use the Loft tool. All we need to do is click on the bases that we want to loft to each other. So make sure you select the actual space itself, not the outlines. And then you just choose Loft. And you'll see that those bases will connect, making that 3D object as it goes up. So we can confirm that first loft, and look at that. We're all finished with the bottom part. Okay, now remember, we do need to get this top part too, so we're going to have to do another offset. We're going to have to create another base. We'll have to do another offset, and then at the top here we'll do a point, and we'll do one more loft. So if you kind of get the idea of this, you can maybe move ahead and then kind of confirm as I'm going nice and slow through this, or if you want to pause, you can do that as well. But really test yourself, see if you're kind of learning this. So again, I'm going to start by offsetting this plane 1, and it might be best if I go back and actually hide my top plane. I won't actually need that anymore. So now I just have my plane 1 here. Right click and offset that. And then the gap that we need between the base of this pyramid and the final top part of the pyramid is 5 millimeters. So this offset distance here will be 5 millimeters. And then we can confirm that. And now we can hide plate 1. We're not going to be using that anymore, so that we can do the base of this top pyramid on plane 2. So we'll do a new sketch on plane 2. The base of this top pyramid is also 10 by 10. So we're doing a center point rectangle. Move it over here. Set the dimension of one of our sides to be 10. And then we'll use the equals constraint to set the other side equal to that. So we have a 10 by 10 triangle here. Notice that this is 5 millimeters offset from the base there. And then we'll rename this the bottom of the, what are we going to call this? The upper. We have the base, and then we have the upper part. So we have the bottom of the upper part. So that's the base of the upper part. And then we'll need to do one more offset to get the top of this upper part. So if I right click on plane 2, offset this plane, gotta go back to my orthographic drawing real quick to see how high I need it up. Looks like I needed 10. So I'll set this offset distance to be 10. Confirm that. Now, again, we want to hide our plane 2 before we start to sketch, and we can even hide the bottom of the top part so we don't interfere with that at all. But what we want for this final top piece is we don't actually want a solid, we just want a point. So we can loft from a surface to a point, and that's not a problem at all. But we still do have to put that point down. So we'll create a sketch on this plane 3, and we will call this the top of the top part. And all I want is a point, and I want it right on the origin, just up on plane 3. So if I just click there once, confirm this, you can see that I have my point. Then I'll go ahead and unhide the bottom of my top part so I can see that as well. And then you know what to do for the loft. In order to do the loft, all you have to do is click on the sketch that you want, the sketch that you want to loft to. So we just want to loft to that point. And then we will choose the Loft tool. As long as that's all good, we can confirm that. We want to hide plane 3 so we can see the actual pyramid itself. There we go. And that's looking good. So hopefully this wasn't too challenging for you. On the homework, what you're going to be doing is creating a little bit of a traffic cone. So you're going to be combining some extrude along with this loft in order to be able to create a solid traffic cone. Good luck. See you tomorrow.